Hi friends, we're back to check in with Sasquatch. We did leave with a little bit of a cliffhanger. Pearl and Ben were hoping to meet this famous Dr. Wu. Mr. Tabby said that would not happen, and then we heard a voice over the loudspeaker saying, "Send them to my office." And without really being told that Dr. Wu said that, we can all infer that that is who is talking. So chapter 20, Dr. Wu. The elevator still smelled like Sasquatch, even though the creature was long gone. Ben tapped his feet nervously as he and Pearl rose to the second floor. "Take a left," Mr. Tabby had told them. "Dr. Wu's office is the last room at the very end of the hall. Do not open any doors along the way. This you must promise." "We promise," Ben and Pearl both had vowed. There were no windows on the second floor hallway, no overhead lights. The only light trickled in from the end of the hall, where the door stood open. "That must be her office," Ben whispered. Pearl led the way, her steps confident and loud, her ponytail swinging. They passed door after door, all closed. Ben wondered if the Sasquatch was behind one, or the dragon hatchling, or another equally amazing creature. But he had promised not to open any doors, and so he kept his hands tucked into his jean pockets. About halfway down the hall, Pearl's footsteps slowed and she stopped walking. My mom and dad are gonna wonder where I am. Maybe we should leave." Even in the dim light, Ben could see that Pearl's eyes were as wide as golf balls. "You were the one that wanted to meet her," he said. "I know, but I'm kind of scared. What if she's mean?" He wasn't going to admit it, that he had also felt a bit scared. He figured that a doctor who worked with dragons had to be fierce, had to be strong, maybe even a little bit crazy. "Don't you want to find out about the imaginary world?" Pearl nodded, but she wouldn't budge. "Come on, we'll walk together," said Ben. And so, with matching footsteps, they started walking again. A few moments later, they arrived at the open doorway. "Come in," said a gentle voice. Sunlight streamed through Dr. Wu's windows, which overlooked a small lake. The water sparkled. The factory reflected on its calm surface. The office itself was a mess, cluttered with baskets and crates and moving boxes. A huge desk made out of wood with carved legs like dragons sat in the center of the room. Papers and books covered the desktop. Glass jars filled with cloudy liquids and odd floating things crowded the shelves. A woman stood next to a coat rack, unbuttoning a white laboratory coat. As she hung the coat on the hook, yellow glitter drifted through the air, and the woman shook her head, and glitter fell from her long black hair. She removed her stethoscope and set it on the desk, and then she folded her hands behind her and gazed at the kids. "You wanted to see me?" Ben held his breath. Dr. Wu was nothing like he had imagined. She wasn't a towering superhero. She stood about his height, which wasn't very tall. Her face was as pale as the moon, and her almond-shaped eyes as black as ink. She was beautiful, even with the big scar that ran across one cheek, and another one that ran down her neck. "Hi," Pearl said, and then she nudged Ben, and he released his breath. "Hi," he said. "Please, sit down." Ben settled onto a stack of boxes, as did Pearl. After brushing yellow glitter from her skirt, Dr. Wu sat at her desk and faced the kids. "I have just returned from a house call, so I haven't had time to clean up the fairy dust." "Fairy dust," Pearl whispered. Dr. Wu tapped her fingers on the desk. Her right index finger missing. Ben remembered the paper that he and Pearl had signed about not blaming Dr. Wu if something was crushed, stomped, vaporized, or bit them. Had something bitten off Dr. Wu's finger? Mr. Tabby informed me that you were sent to retrieve the Sasquatch. Clearly, you have been successful. Yes, said Ben. I'm sorry, I didn't bolt the door. It was my fault that it got out. I also understand that you found our missing wyvern hatchling. Yes, Ben said again. My grandpa's cat heard it. I'm sorry about that too. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you say fairy dust? Pearl asked. You mean fairies are real? Dr. Wu didn't answer that question. Instead, she stifled a yawn. Excuse me. I've had a long journey, and I do need to get some sleep. She leaned back in her chair. What was it that you wished to see me about? Pearl looked at Ben, and Ben looked at Pearl, and he nodded encouragingly. She scooted to the edge of the box and spat out the following questions at rocket speed. Okay, who are you, and where's the imaginary world, and how do I get to it, and how come nobody else knows about it, and if dragons really exist, then how come everyone says that they don't, and if there really are Sasquatches and dragons and fairies, and if they're really real, are they really real, and what about unicorns, because I'd really like to meet a unicorn. Can I meet a unicorn, and why do you have yellow glitter in your hair, and... She paused for a millisecond. Can we go with you to the imaginary world? She took a long breath and then closed her mouth. Silence filled the room. Ben could barely keep himself from wiggling as they waited for the doctor's answers. Dr. Wu sat up straight. It is always a challenge to keep my hospital a secret, and the two of you already know far, far more than you should. Her gentle tone turned dark and serious. Something flashed in her eyes. And I'm not exactly sure what to do about it. Were they in trouble? Ben shifted nervously. Was Dr. Wu going to tell his parents that he had caused a big mess at the senior center and that he had captured the mulberries with a net? You don't have to do anything, he said. We won't tell anybody about the hospital. That's right, said Pearl, and we won't tell anybody about the Sasquatch. Or the hatchling, said Ben. We promise, said Pearl. Yeah, we promise. Dr. Wu did not appear convinced by these eager promises, for her brow remained furrowed and her lips pursed. She looked from Ben to Pearl and then back to Ben. Ben smiled, trying to look like a boy who always told the truth, not like a boy who made up stories. What was the doctor thinking? She looked at Pearl again, and Pearl smiled. The big gap looked like a piece of black licorice stuck between her teeth. Dr. Wu pressed a button on her desk intercom. Mr. Tabby, we have a serious breach of security. Do you have any questions? Any suggestions? Mr. Tabby's voice drifted back from the speaker. We could have the dragon carry them away and leave them somewhere, a mountain top, perhaps, or a deserted island. That is an option, said Dr. Wu. But what if they were rescued? They would still know our secrets. Very true, very true. Mr. Tabby paused for a moment. Ben was about to assure Dr. Wu that once again he was going to tell nobody about the hospital when Mr. Tabby said, I have a brilliant idea. We could leave them with the Cyclops. He's always hungry. You've got a Cyclops? Pearl asked. That's so amazing. Ben couldn't believe that Pearl was more interested in the fact that Dr. Wu had a Cyclops than the fact that she might feed them to the Cyclops. He said as he slid off the boxes and took a couple of steps backward. I think it's time we should be going. I don't think that feeding them to the Cyclops is a very good idea, Dr. Wu told Mr. Tabby. It's going to be far too messy. Too messy? Ben mumbled. How far was the elevator? If he made a run for it, he could get there before Dr. Wu changed her mind. And if the children went missing, we would have to deal with the local police. So there must be a better way to handle the situation. Hey, Pearl said as she slid off the boxes. What are you talking about? You don't need to do anything. Ben and I promised. We promised. Once again, Dr. Wu's gaze traveled from Ben to Pearl and then back to Ben. I wonder... She leaned forward, her elbows on the table. I wonder... I've only done this one other time, but I wonder if... Ben took a few more steps backward. He was in the doorway now, his legs poised and ready to bolt if the dreaded words, "feed them to the," came out of Dr. Wu's mouth. Mr. Tabby, Dr. Wu said. Yes, I think I have the solution. Dr. Wu's face relaxed. They seem like nice kids, and it does take skill and cunning to catch a Sasquatch. And since they already know far too much, tune in tomorrow.